Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 107, week 7 of the NFL season, right upon us, man. Jumping in, we're going to start off with some hot or not. You got some scenario-based questions for me this week. I'll go ahead and start you off with the hot or not. Hot or not, the Cowboys will miss the playoffs.
Well, being an avid Cowboys hater myself, I'm going to say that is not a hot take, especially, with all the injuries and everything going on. It kind of felt like, in the past couple years, the Cowboys at home, that's where you don't want to play them. That's where they're their best, high-powered offense. They got those guys on the edge. They'll get after you on the defense. Well, now with some injuries and, I believe 3 straight blowout losses at home, you want to go back to the Packers game in the playoffs last season. It's not looking good in Dallas, and I think their main issue isn't really the roster. I think, that starts in the front office, kind of above with the people making certain decisions, and we talked about it before on this podcast, with Jerry Jones, with him making decisions or the lack of decisions he made, especially in this offseason with bringing in some help, losing certain guys, letting guys walk, not signing certain players, and then, him going on crashing out on people, asking him about what he's doing. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys, they're a solid team. They'll be okay, but I could definitely see them missing the playoffs, especially with injuries and how stuff's going so far. So, yeah, Dak Prescott, highest paid player, not living up to it so far, which makes me happy as an Eagles fan.
I knew you'd like that question. Keeping it in the NFC, hot or not, the Packers are the best team in the NFC conference.
I'm going to say that is a hot take just because there's 2 other teams in their division that you can argue are better than them. When you look at the Lions and the Vikings who are undefeated coming off of the bye, which, funny enough, they play the Lions this week, so that'll be a really big game. But the Lions, especially how they look against Dallas at home the past couple weeks, that offense has gotten going now. They do lose Hutchinson, which is a big, big blow to a season-ending injury. But the way that offense is moving, that defense just has to play good enough. They'll be playing ahead 85-90% of the time. So it's not like their defense will be in many tough positions. They'll be able to sit back in coverage, kind of wait for the big plays, stuff along those lines. But, yeah, offensively, they literally have no holes. Like, they can beat you every single way there is to win a football game offensively. They can run the ball, power. They can get to the outside with 2 very different running backs, but they're really good in their own aspects. They have pretty much every single type of receiver you need. They have the deep threat that can take the top off the defense with Jamison Williams. You have an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who you kind of do-it-all guy in between the numbers in the middle of the field, get those receptions, and then you look at someone like a Tim Patrick, a bigger receiver they bring in. He can block, a physical receiver. You look at Sam Laporta, a really good receiving option at the tight end position, who they're not even using that much this year because they just don't need him. And Jared Goff, in that play action system, making those nice passes over the middle, just being a true point guard, not doing too much. I would say the Lions right now are the best team in the NFC. If you want to look at the 49ers and what they've done, they got a nice win over the Seahawks this past week. I think they need to be in consideration, but so far, I think it's the Lions and Vikings, and we'll get to it with them playing later this week, kind of give our takes on that game. But I kind of think whoever wins that game will be looking at, as the best team right now in the NFC so far. But I think the Packers do deserve some credit. They deserve to be mentioned, but right now I think it's between the Lions and Vikings, and I give the nod to Detroit.
Yeah, since Jordan Love came back, Packers have been rolling, but the Lions and the Vikings, obviously top 2 in the NFC. Just wanted to see where your head was at with the Pack. And the 49ers, I mean, good win this week, but last week losing to the Cardinals.
Yeah, not really consistent, and I'm not even going to mention the Eagles in that category at all. Yeah, although there was some hope coming into this season.
I wouldn't, but last one, man. I think you'll like this. Hot or not, the Colts should stick with Joe Flacco.
It's not a hot take at all. Like, Joe Flacco is winning games for this team. I believe he's had 2 or more touchdown passes in every single start this year. Anthony Richardson, when he's been in the game, it just hasn't hasn't looked as good. And we were earlier on this in this podcast. We said like he hasn't played football. Like this should kind of be one of those situations where I know he was injured and didn't play last year, but maybe give him another redshirt season. And I know you want to get him the game reps and kind of let him learn and figure out what it is, but he just hasn't played a lot of football. I just don't think he's ready to play yet. And I know the way you get better is to get out there and get reps, but sometimes maybe you have to sit behind a guy like a Joe Flacco, get those practice reps first, maybe kind of pull the reins back just a little bit. Because right now, I mean, especially in this division, the Colts are competitive. They have chances to win. You look around, you feel like they can beat a lot of these teams, but in the AFC, that's looking like the weaker conference as well. So we saw Flacco go on a playoff run last year with the team that was kind of underperforming. He comes in, takes them, they get a playoff win, you know. So I would say you got to start Joe Flacco for the Colts, especially with those weapons there on the outside. The run game, Jonathan Taylor comes back. I think that team is good enough.
Not a playoff win, but
or they lost to the Texans, but they made the playoffs.
Yeah, 2 different seasons for that former Joe Flacco team, not to be mentioned, man. Your scenario-based questions, and I agree, those weapons on the outside have been feasting too for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I want to – I actually just thought of this, but Michael Pittman, have you heard, like, what was going on with him?
No.
Like, apparently he had a back injury, and he was considering being placed on IR.
Yeah,
like,
he played last week.
But then he played. Do you think he's just going based off of if Anthony Richardson is playing or not?
Like,
yeah,
he might be a little banged up.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, they're gonna play AR. He's like, I'll just go on IR. I'm not gonna get the ball. He's like, oh, Flacco's playing. Like, I'll stick it out. Let me get some. Catch some passes. We get a chance to win.
It was Alec Pierce that caught everything when Anthony Richardson. It was just deep shots down the field. Nothing else. It's not really Pittman's game. He could go up and get it, but he's not gonna hit you with the burn speed. So. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't blame him.
We'll see what Michael Pittman does this week. If he goes on IR, then we know what he's up to.
Nah, that'd be crazy because he was looking good last week.
Yeah. Okay. So the 2 questions I have for you, the big news with the blockbuster trades that happened earlier today. Which team do you think is better off with the additions of the 2 receivers, with Amari Cooper going to the Bills and then Devontae Adams rekindling with his boy A-Rod up in New York? Which team do you think is better off based off those 2 trades?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. Amari Cooper underperforming this year in terms of drops. Sort of had that problem coming into the league. We've seen him at his high points, including last year with his connection with Joe Flacco and how he balled. But Devontae Adams, obviously, great wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers, I'm just not – it's shaky week in and week out, man. A-Rod, you don't know what you're getting out of him. He already has Garrett Wilson, a true number 1 wide receiver in this league that did 1,000-yard receiving seasons with absolute bums throwing him the football. So you look at it from that point, yeah, it adds another weapon, takes attention away. I don't think Aaron Rodgers at this age, 1, is a true leader. We've seen it before. Calls out Mike Williams after this week. Now he's on the trade block. So he fired Robert Saleh, trade Mike Williams after his press conference. I just don't think the Jets are in a good position, as where the Bills, they might not have all the pieces, especially defensively, but you had a true number 1 to a wide receiver group that was getting spread the love. Now you throw in a true number 1, a route runner, pure pass catcher, Amari Cooper. I think that's a big asset. James Cook, Josh Allen, he gets his number 1 wide receiver, and unlike, most wide receiver ones, you don't hear Amari Cooper complain unless it's a little IG story, which he does when his name's in rumors. But that's about it. He doesn't complain, doesn't ask for the ball. He doesn't go into press conferences being a diva. So whether he gets it or not, I think the Bills win this trade.
Yeah, I think both offenses get better, but I'm right there with you, especially with the Bills. So seemingly have that division in lock right now with their postseason hopes and stuff like that, giving Josh Allen a solid number 1 target. Definitely. We've seen what he was able to do with Diggs. That'll help. All right, and my second question for you, I'd see myself as a pretty pessimistic Eagles fan. So I'm gonna need you to give me some hope here. Give me some light. Say some positive things. Give me your opinion on this NFC East division. Like, how do you see it shaking out right now? Like, give me your teams 1 through 4. Let me hear what you got to say.
Well, I'm gonna go Commanders number 1, first and foremost. 2, I mean, you saw my pick. I picked the Giants this week on the Pick'ems. I want to say that the Browns' defense is good, hopefully, but there's no hope for them. The fact that this team could stick in a ball game with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to sit here and say, are the worst team in the NFL. Currently, at this point in the season, there is nobody worse than the Browns. And the fact that Nick Sirianni's on the sideline yelling at the fans in the stadium is just not a good look. You talk about Sirianni for 30 minutes of podcast, man. I hear it. I see it. You sent me the little post, man. He called that 1 4th down play. And then he also called that defensive play as well that they got burned on. So, I mean, I'd put Cowboys. I don't even know. The Cowboys are embarrassing. 1 through 4, it could shake up, man. But I think it would take a midseason firing of Nick Sirianni if the Eagles want to make a playoff push, which you've been calling for the whole year. So we'll see about that. But I honestly, if you pick the Giants 2, Eagles 2, Cowboys 2, vice versa through the rest of the order, I'm just not even going to argue with it. Malik Neighbors, he's coming back, so the Giants got their number 1 weapon back.
That's all right. We got something from Malik Neighbors this week, man.
Quinyon
Mitchell. I'm calling it right here. Quinyon Mitchell, after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson speared him on his first career interception, I think he gets one this week. But, yeah, all I have to say about that and the Eagles, man, it just feels good that I'm on the right side of history of being a Nick Sirianni hater and calling for his job the past couple seasons. So, that's aging well.
The fact that it took the Browns to march down the field in the red zone and back-to-back penalties, I think, or a sack and a penalty, and you go celebrating and screaming at the fan, it's kind of sad work, man, because it doesn't – Rodney McLeod has 2 touchdowns on the year. No one else on the Browns receiving team has 2 touchdowns this year. So take that how you want it.
Yeah, and the Nick Sirianni thing, I've seen some stuff online about was he really yelling at the fans. I guess someone posted on Reddit that he was the person Sirianni was yelling at and that it wasn't like that because they were chirping at him early in the game and he just came back to him and was like, we ran the ball. So, I mean, you're going to believe some random Redditor or what you see on the TV? Like, there's no way to really tell what was being said. And then also, there's been some speculation saying that Nick Sirianni's kind of being the knight in shining armor and falling on the sword for certain coordinators when their play calls don't work out. I mean, yeah, that's what you want your head coach to do, being a good leader. But then again, with his history of actual bad play calling, it's kind of hard to tell where the line's drawn, what's blurred or what's not. It's like you can't be a bad play caller and then try to cover up for bad play calling and expect people not to assume it was actually you calling it. So, I mean, in the fact that we're even at this point, just a lot of question marks, a lot of, just weird things going on. Eagles have absolutely no identity. Like, you don't know what they're going to get. Once again, coaching, special teams, killing us once again. Against the Bucs, where, granted, we did have some players out. The best unit on the field that entire day was a special teams unit. Even though we were, running into kickers and stuff like that or pushing people into punt returners, but you get the block, PAT, make a big play. And then the next week, after a bye week, the worst unit on the field is special teams, getting field goals blocked. Like, it's just so inconsistent. So, yeah, until the Eagles pretty much find their identity and can sustain offensive drives and score points in the first quarter, unlike the last 6 games, definitely some questions to be had. I think the Eagles' ceiling is a wild card loss.
I'm right there with you. And I told you Vic Fangio sucks. So I think that was the coordinator you were referring to there.
I think Vic has been okay with the defense. I think Vic has done a decent job. Like, he hasn't been world changing, but I mean, I know it was against the Browns offense, but I'd probably say the defense was the best unit on the field. In the only unit that I think we saw real change in, like, he made the nod to go with Cooper DeJean. We saw Bryce Huff. I've came on this show multiple times saying that he's been absolutely useless and living up to the Agent Zero nickname. That's very true, but we saw him get a couple of pressures. They're lining him up differently, and I know it's against the Browns' O-line, but where you line him up, have him in the 4-point stance, which is what he was using while he was on the Jets and had all that success, instead of standing him up at linebacker. Like, that's a schematic change that you try to do with a player, not just, it's not like he was still lining up outside and just beating a bad Browns offensive line. At least he was doing something he was more comfortable with. So I think that's a change you see that'll translate throughout the season. So there's been some decent changes on the defensive side of the ball. They showed a lot more blitz. They got Cooper DeJean kind of on those nickel blitzes, bringing some pressure. Fangio, we know he doesn't like to blitz, so we're seeing him adapt a little bit with the defensive line not getting as much pressure. So I like what I've been seeing there. He's been able to adapt a little bit. So out of all the units on the Eagles, I think I'm, more bullish on the defense just because we got a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent. So maybe there's some promise there, but I'm with you. He hasn't been, like life-changing or made the Eagles one of the best defenses in the league. But I think this defense has definitely been good enough if the offense and everything, all their players live up to the hype. But the last thing I'm going to say about that is I'm going to just keep saying this as long as Nick Sirianni is the head coach. Once again, that game was won by the talent on the roster, and they had to overcome the coaching. So, yeah, there you go.
That is your famous words there.
I mean, bro, like, me and you can literally go out there and just throw go balls to A.J. Brown or hit Devontae Smith wide open on a crossing route. Like, that doesn't take, like, coaching. Like, anybody that has any, like, ounce of athletic ability in them and can throw a ball, maybe not, 40 yards down the field to A.J. Brown, but I can throw a 15-yard drag to Devontae Smith, and he can run 40 yards to go score. Like, it's not hard. Like, Jalen Hurts and these guys on the offense are being good players and just overcoming Eagles' terrible coaching. So, yeah, let's get to the picks. Enough Eagles talk.
Yeah, could be worse, man. Broncos Saints in New Orleans, Thursday night football. Sean Payton returns to the great state of Louisiana. I'm going with the Denver Broncos, man, in that defense. Spencer Rattler, pretty nice showcase for his, first career game. Showed a couple flashes. The Saints were able to get on the board. We'll say that. But this Broncos defense, I think they're going to be good enough to stop the Saints. And that offense, it just looks pretty bad. They got beat up in terms of the Broncos last week against the Chargers. But as I expected, coming back off that bye healthy in my pick, which I went 13-1, by the way. You went 12-2. But yeah, I'm going to rock with Bo Nix and the Broncos.
Yeah, I think the Broncos win here as well. Injuries just killing the Saints. You lose Derek Carr. Chris Olave goes out on his first catch. So you'd want to see those guys get healthy. And it's just funny to kind of see where the Saints – well, not funny, but just honestly sad to see where the Saints are now compared to where they were the first couple weeks of the season, where they're putting up 40 a game. We came on here asking, are they the best offense in the league, greatest offense ever, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, on the road for the Broncos, I think it'll be a tough environment. But, yeah, Sean Payton homecoming, I think the Broncos, it'll be an ugly win, but I think they get it done.
Classic Thursday night fashion.
Yeah, of course. And it's always the short weeks, too, so players don't have the full week to get healthy. Mm-hmm. So injuries play a bigger role in the short week. So, yeah.
Pats Jags in London. 2 straight home games for the Jags in London. I'm a rock with the Jags, man. I watched some of that Drake May, still rookie quarterback. Somehow the Jags find a way to be one of the most promising teams for 3 quarters. They didn't do it last week, but all season, and then fold in the fourth quarter. This game was just bad right from the jump for the Jags. But, I mean, the Patriots don't think the offense got much better with Drake May out there. they look better, but I still don't think they got better in terms of offense. So there's a little film on Drake May. I think the Jags get a win in London against the Pats.
Well, I'm going to argue that because Drake May literally had more passing touchdowns and threw for more yards than what Brissett ever did at all this season. So they definitely got better. Like, when's the last time you seen a Patriots quarterback throw for 3 touchdowns? Is it Mac Jones' rookie year? Like, it's been a while. So I definitely think Drake May elevates this offense and makes them better. Like, the last time you seen it, not even score 3 touchdowns. When's the last time you seen a Patriots quarterback complete a deep ball down the field, 20 or more yards for a touchdown? That dead ass might be Tom Brady. Like, Mac Jones didn't throw the ball down the field at all.
Jimmy G.
Like, it didn't happen, bro. So I definitely think Drake May adds a bit of explosiveness that this offense has been missing, arguably since Tom Brady. If you want to argue rookie year Mac Jones, Pro Bowler, go ahead.
Gritty Mac.
You can argue it, but at least since that season, they haven't had a quarterback show this much potential. Now, he is very young. I think you'll see some mistakes, some growing pains. He did have a couple turnovers, a couple interceptions. I think that's just going to come with it at this point, but you're banking on the upside. You're banking on the flashes and what you saw from Drake May, and if you're a Patriots fan, you got to enjoy it, and I'm hopping on the Drake May bandwagon, man. I think he gets his first win as a starter here across the pond against the Jags. And all I'm going to say is, the Jags have the option to do the funniest thing ever if they start Mac Jones or if Mac Jones gets in this game. Maybe we get a Mac Jones revenge game. But it's probably going to be Trevor Lawrence. And
probably.
The Vikings, the Jags just look bad, bro. Like,
they need to fire Doug P.
Just dropping touchdowns. Defensively, like, guys are just lost. Like, it's bad in Jacksonville. Like, you said the Browns are worse. Like, it might.
No, I think the Browns are worse.
The Jags aren't far behind if you think the Browns are the worst team.
Yeah, somehow.
And both in similar positions, actually. Like, just extended or got big quarterbacks paid. Either one of them not
I think
playing.
the Jags are still in a better position.
You can argue it. Regardless, give me the Patriots here on the road. It doesn't matter, but yeah, I'll take the Pats.
Yeah, man. Lions, Vikings, this is the matchup, on paper that NFC top 2 teams, NFC North teams going at it. Skull Nation going to be at home in Minnesota. Still a dome game for Jared Goff, so know he's going to be loving that. I think this is going to be a great game, man. The Vikings defense has showed out. The Vikings offense has showed out as well this year. But for everything you clicked on about the Lions, man, their defense hasn't had to do much this year outside Aiden Hutchinson's 5-sack game, which he's no longer, playing this season. But that Lions offense, you mentioned Amon-Ra, Mr. Do-It-All, Jameson Williams, 2 catches a game, somehow gets a touchdown and 60 to 70 yards. Safety blanket Laporta hasn't even got going. And a 2-headed monster in the backfield between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs right now is the best in the league, 1-2 punch-wise in the backfield. So give me the Lions on the road beating the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions here as well. Touched on them earlier. You kind of mentioned it as well. I think it'll be a really tough test because this Vikings defense has given pretty much every offense they played hell. Like, they're flying around your boy Brian Flores scheming up there on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll be a tough task. But I do just think the Lions are better, even if it is on the road. I could see the Vikings winning. I mean, they are favored by 2.5 points. I can see maybe they split. But right now, especially coming off of that big win like you did against the Cowboys, the Lions, they're just rolling, man. So I think they win a good game here against the Vikings. I'm going to pick Detroit as well.
Yeah, Brian Flores, I will say, probably the greatest defensive mind I've seen coach one of my teams. Definitely up there. His offensive capability is different, but stays in that D coordinator role. He's one of the best D coordinators you could get in the NFL. Titans, Bills in Buffalo. I'm just not even going to say too much. Calvin really got me less than a point this week in fantasy when I needed to start him. Give me the Bills, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bills, not much to say. Only thing exciting on the Titans side of the ball is which new meme or clip will Levis have now? It's guaranteed, bro.
Another one last week, man.
Hmm?
I said another one last week.
He had a couple last week. Yeah, the
leg.
Spider-Man meme broke the leg of the
ball boy,
and then like picked up a fumble on his own interception. Like, yeah, Will Levis was all over the place, man.
I don't think I saw the Spider-Man meme.
And about Calvin Ridley, bro. Apparently he had like 8 targets or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
he was getting. I was like, dang.
He's just not getting.
I checked my fantasy app mid second quarter and saw he had a bunch of targets, but 0 points. I thought he was injured.
They're all like garbage targets too. Like like Will Levis is like
throw it out of bounds,
throwing it away, and he's like the nearest receiver. Like the ball gets batted at the line. Like
it doesn't even matter. I watched him straight up target D-Hop, and the throws were not good anyways. So.
Not like you're missing much.
Yeah. Dolphins, Colts in Indianapolis. Said AR is probably going to be starting this game. Will Michael Pittman play? I'm banking on the Dolphins, man. You're coming off a bye week. Hopefully you change something in this offense. Tyler Huntley going to be your starting quarterback. So hopefully the offense changed a little bit from the Tua offense, and Mike McDaniel can make adjustments having a whole extra week. We'll see with that. I'm just baking. It's the only hope I have left of this NFL season is in the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, just give me the Dolphins. Hopefully AR just doesn't decide to have one of those games where you're like, wow, he might be one of the best arm talents in the league, but he probably will.
Yeah, I'm gonna go here with the Dolphins as well. You pretty much covered everything there's to say. Now, if it was Joe Flacco out here, that's a different story. I'm going Colts all day. But Dolphins off a bye, get a couple guys healthy. A-Chain, he got cleared from the concussion, so he should be good to go. Another week closer to hopefully having Tua back, competent quarterback. So, yeah, give me the Dolphins on the road. I think they can beat this Colts team, even if it is Huntley.
Seahawks, Falcons in Atlanta. I think it's going to be a good game, man. You mentioned your boy Kirk over there. Pre-show, you were talking about it. I'm going to take the Seahawks here. Up and down the season for them in general, man. 1 week they look good. 1 week they look shaky. One half, they're a team of runs, man. Kenneth Walker, I think he's carried, the backfield nicely for the Seahawks when he's out there on the field. They have a way better chance. The weapons on the outside have looked good. Tyler Lockett got involved last week. Got a couple catches. This Falcons team also been up and down, man, this season. Sort of a slower start, and then they've seen to turn it on as Kirk has gotten healthier, which I said that the Falcons probably would happen. I'll let you touch on your boy Bijan, but I think the Seahawks get the win on the road against the Falcons.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good matchup, but it's two kind of opposite teams like you touched on. The Seahawks started off super hot. We're 3-0, and then have lost 3 straight. Whereas the Falcons started off a little slow, ugly week 1, had the Steelers looking like, the steel curtain was back. And since then, like you mentioned, Kirk got a little healthier. Big win against the Bucs a couple weeks ago on Thursday night. And then you come back and win a good game against the Panthers. So nice division win back at home. This Seahawks defense has been kind of railing a little bit, especially against 49ers. We saw them have some success on them. So I think Kirk Cousins, that play-action game, you mentioned my boy Bijan. I'm not going to say too much on him, but he had a good game last week. Found the end zone 2 times against the Panthers, so I think they continue to get him involved. Algier also looking nice as well, and Drake London stepping up as that number 1 receiver. So I like what the Falcons got going on offense. I think they take advantage of a Seahawks defense that hasn't been playing up to expectations, and they get a win at home.
Texans, Packers in Green Bay. I'm going to go ahead and take the Pack here. I think it's going to be a good matchup. 2 young quarterbacks, Stroud versus Love. Saw Love offense really got going last week. And then it's going to be interesting to see, is Nico Collins going to be back this week, or is he still out?
He's on IR, so I think they said like week 10.
Okay. Yeah. Regardless, the Jair Stephon Diggs matchup maybe on the outside this week. No, Jair says he wants to shadow receivers. Week 1 didn't end up too well for him.
Shout out AJ.
He's had a better turn to the season than he did in week 1 for sure. But that Packers defense, man, they're able to make some plays. They can get 1 or 2 against this Texans team. Jordan Love limit the turnovers against his D'Amico Ryans defense. Joe Mixon did look real good coming back last week for the Texans. But I'm going to go ahead and take the home team here and the home team favorite in Green Bay. I really like the way the offense looked. Everybody got involved. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. They were all getting their touches. So give me the Pack.
Yeah, I like both of these teams. I think both of these teams can make some noise down the stretch. I probably would pick the Packers as well, but this is just me trying to catch you in the standings, and I think the Texans have a chance to win. So you took the Packers. I'm going to take the Texans. So my argument for the Texans would be Joe Mixon coming back against that Patriots defense.
Mm-hmm.
You saw kind of the difference he made in that game. Just take some of the pressure off C.J. Stroud. Don't have him drop back and throw it every single play. You can just hand it off to Joe Mixon. Competent running back, somebody who can get downhill, just make it easier for that offense. Tank Dell, he's stepping up. Diggs stepping up with the absence of Nico Collins. Really don't have any questions about that offense. And then you saw Will Anderson Jr. get after Drake May on the edge. He had a big game, so maybe you see some pressure on Jordan Love. But I think that Texans' run game will be the key here in this game. But like I mentioned before, I enjoy both of these teams. I think it'll be a coin flip game. I can see it going either way, but I'm going to just pick the Texans here and try to catch you in those standings.
Yeah, I don't hate it, man. Next game up, Bengals, Browns, rivalry of Ohio. Not so much this year. And Joe Burrow's record is going to get a whole lot better against the Cleveland Browns. 1-5 in his career. I sit there and clown the Bengals the way they've played the Browns in years past, but this Browns team is just, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, deflated, not motivated, and in literal franchise hell for the next, I don't know how many years. But with that being said, man, give me the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Not much to say on this game. I'm going to take the Bengals as well, although I will say the Browns have the chance to do the funniest thing ever, which is win. But give me the Bengals.
I mean, it would literally be on the hands of Denzel Ward, 101-yard pick six again against Joe Burrow. But
is Nick Chubb back? Does he make his season debut next week? Return of Chubb? Or are we waiting one more week?
I think they're going to wait one more week. I think he's got one more week. I mean, I don't even.
Does it even matter at this point?
No, it really doesn't, man. I told you, DTR. I want to see him. I know everyone's calling about Jameis Winston, but the playoffs are way out of sight for the Cleveland Browns. So might as well see what you got in DTR, get the young guy a shot, and send Deshaun Watson to jail or something like that. But Eagles, Giants, man. Your Eagles in New York or Jersey, MetLife. Told you I'm going to take it to Giants. You touched on your Eagles, man. Give me the Giant coin flip game, to be honest with you. I'm picking against the Eagles because of the way they played the Browns last week.
Yeah, I don't hate it as well. I went into coming into this week thinking I'd be picking the Giants as well, but they showed me that they were the Giants of old still. Did not have a good outing against the Bengals at all. That offense just couldn't do anything. Now you bring back Malik Neighbors, that'll definitely help. But I think the Giants and the Eagles are pretty much like you mentioned, a coin flip game. They're pretty much just equal teams, not talent-wise, but the inept coaching on the Eagles brings them down to be on the Giants level. So they'll probably end up splitting. I mean, it's a division game and they play them close. So Eagles on the road, coming off of a win, I think they get this one. Although if you think they'll split, you give it to the home team. Regardless, Eagles should be the Giants, but I definitely think it'll be a lot closer. And if the Giants end up winning, I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely take the over on anything Malik Neighbors related, though. I will say that.
Raiders Rams in LA, gonna be a Raiders home game, but I just don't think it matters much, man. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Give me the Rams coming off that bye. Cooper Kupp, 1 week healthier. Could be a possibly back, I believe, this week. Mm-hmm. We'll see. He's day-to-day in practice, so we'll see about that with the Rams. But Kyron Williams gets a week off. That beat-up Rams team gets a week off, and I mean, it's the Raiders bounce back bye week right here for the Rams to get their, post bye week push going.
Yeah, I just think the Rams, unlike the Eagles, are one of the best coached teams in the league. And although they don't have much talent, I think Sean McVay is good enough to coach and scheme these guys up to a win, to where you look at the rosters, you probably say, especially with the injuries, it's closer to the Raiders. But I just think Sean McVay, the way he's got that system going, Stafford a little banged up, Kupp getting healthy. You mentioned he has a chance to play. He's considered day-to-day, like you mentioned. His offense has pretty much just been on the back of Kyron Williams and kind of going as he's going. He's been really solid this year. So I think, like you mentioned, that bye week will be really, really important for him with all the hits he's been taking this season. So I think this will be somewhat of a close game. But, yeah, I just think the Rams are way better coached and have a better quarterback. So give me the Rams. That's a recipe for success in the NFL.
Panthers, Commanders in Washington. I'm taking a team that I picked to win the NFC East earlier in this podcast. Give me the Commanders. Not much to say about the Panthers so far at all this season. And I think the only legit chance they have to beat some teams, or some of the teams we talked about, was the Jags and Browns. Give me the Commanders at home. Jaden Daniels look good. The defense got their first pick last week of the season, so shout out to the Commanders for that. Maybe they get one off Andy Dalton this week.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the team you think will win the NFC East. Well, I'm rocking with my rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels. Give me the Commanders against the Panthers, like you mentioned. I mean,
you did pick them.
One of the better teams against arguably one of the worst teams. It's at home, the Commanders. This should not be an issue.
Chiefs-Niners, Super Bowl, rematch here between these two franchises. And Brock Purdy, Pat Mahomes, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid matchup. Some of the best two-coach teams in the NFL. Should go ahead and give me the Chiefs, man. They just haven't lost yet, and I don't see them. This Niners team, they should be able to put up a fight, but they've looked very inconsistent this year. Don't know what version you're getting from them. Jordan Mason has picked up the CMC work nicely, but they've yet to get their receivers going on a consistent basis, including Brandon Ayuk, who they were able to lock that deal up with. Hasn't looked like the same guy from last year. Give me the Chiefs, man. They're going to find a way, as always.
You pretty much said everything there is to be said about this matchup. The Chiefs just find ways to win. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're going to win, bro. Give me Chiefs.
Ravens, Bucks in Tampa Bay. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do my first switch of the year. I picked the Ravens, man. I'm going to rock with the Bucks, man. Baker Mayfield, former division rival, playing the Baltimore Ravens, who have looked real good this year. And I said Derrick Henry wasn't the best offseason acquisition. Still might be up there for Sam Darnold, but Derrick Henry is looking scary in Baltimore. In that rushing attack, Lamar Jackson's just out there having fun. Zay Flowers has gotten it going so far the past few weeks. This team does look unstoppable offensively. However, defensively, some holes. They've looked a bit shaky so far defensively this year, and we'll see if Baker can expose them. He had a big game against that Falcons team in prime time. See if he can do it again. Bucks at home. Lamar Jackson returned to Florida, coming back. Not South Florida, but, he's back in the state of Florida. I see the Bucks getting at Baker Mayfield against his former division rival in LJ. No, it wasn't same draft class, but pretty close to it.
Wasn't it?
Lamar was 18? Yeah, it was actually.
It was, yeah. First pick of the first round versus the last pick of the first round.
Yeah, and hey, the Ravens could very well win this, but I decided to give you a little upper edge if you think the Ravens truly win this game.
Oh, well, I appreciate that because not only do I think the Ravens win this game, I think they win it handily. The regular season Ravens, man, outside of the Chiefs, they're just a team you don't want to see, bro. Now, once we get later in the year and we get closer to the postseason, then we can start having some conversations if this team is legit and if they're real and they can make actual runs. But in the regular season, so far, man, they just look unstoppable. Derrick Henry definitely making your take of saying that he was not the best offseason acquisition look very wrong.
I mean, Sam Darnold, he had a bye week. He couldn't play.
I'll give you that. It's close.
But this was already an elite offense and a former MVP, two-time MVP.
I mean, it was, but adding someone like Derrick Henry, they've had no one near being able to run like this. Like J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, like Justice Hill, like none of those guys.
Justice Hill's a check down merchant.
None of those guys have been able to do what Derrick Henry's been able to do, and I think that's kind of been the element to unlock this offense. You mentioned some of those other guys finding some success. And the Ravens defense, I'm right there with you. They have been struggling. There's been some holes, but you got to look at who they've been playing. They literally played Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. They just played Jaden Daniels. Like, if you want to argue, the 4 best quarterbacks in the league right now. So they've had some tough matchups offensively. I don't want to say it's getting any easier with the Bucs because the Bucs and Baker have been playing really, really well on offense. So I think this is going to be another tough matchup for their defense. So like you mentioned, you could see some potential, shots down the field. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have gotten it going, but I just think the way this Ravens team is going, the way they want to control the game, Derrick Henry's going to go for over 100 yards and a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in every single game this season. I don't think that streak stops here against this Bucs defense. I think it'll be a good game. I think the Bucs will find some success, but at the end of the day, I just think that rushing attack will be a little too much. You just overwhelm teams, man. Like how many times can you stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and then you got Zay Flowers coming over the middle? It's just in the regular season, it's a lot for team to handle. So I'm gonna pick the Ravens here, man.
Last game of the week, man. Monday Night Football. Chargers, Cardinals in Arizona, man. And I'm gonna go ahead and rock with the Chargers. Simply don't know what version of this Cardinals offense you're gonna get week in and week out. So this Chargers team, they have an identity so far with Harbaugh. Justin Herbert, he's back healthy after that bye last week. Quentin Johnston did get hurt. We'll see with his injury update, but regardless if he's out there or not, I'll take them over the Cardinals on the road.
Yeah, and all questions about the Cardinals offense, then you lose Marvin Harrison Jr. with a concussion, so that definitely doesn't help at all. Trey McBride has been like the only consistent thing really in that passing game. And then if they're able to get a lead or if it's a close game, you look at James Conner to be a threat out of the backfield. But you mentioned in terms of teams with identity, the Chargers, exactly what they are, exactly what they want to do. J.K. Dobbins is going to run the ball, run it some more, and then run it again. And then defensively, they want to get after you, keep everything in front of them. Come hit hard, get after the quarterback. So hard-nosed football over there for the Chargers. That's how Harbaugh wants to play, and definitely think it'll be tough for the Cardinals to kind of keep up with that run game. And then once they get the lead, Chargers just play keep away. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here as well. I think in the Monday night doubleheader, I think that Bucs-Raven game is a Monday night game as well.
Is it a doubleheader? Week 7 doubleheader?
I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure.
Regardless,
which is kind of crazy, bro. Like we really need to be having double headers on Monday night.
No,
bro.
we really don't. And it is. There's an 8:15 and a 9 o'clock game. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Going to work late on Tuesday.
It's just for the West Coast, Chargers and Cardinals.
Yeah, it's crazy. Week 7. You got any last comments, takes, anything like that, man?
Go Dodgers, man. Strong game 1. Not so much in the second game, but back to New York, I like our odds. I would ask Shohei how his elbow's feeling, man. Get him on the mound.
I don't think Shohei is going to risk his $700 million contract or whatever it is.
Shit, I mean, it's 4 World Series, man. Like, you might as well. Shit. Maybe in the World Series. Well, we won't get too far ahead. We got to win this one first.
We'll see, man. Guards, Yanks, game 2 tonight. Got to bounce back, man. The only hope in the state of, or the city of Cleveland, I shall say, right now is the Cleveland Guardians. So, give me a little hope tonight. Tanner Bybee on the bump. A little get-right action against the Yankees, and it It was like wind chill. I looked up the weather last night and they played. It was like wind chill at 30 something degrees. Welcome to October baseball in the Bronx. So go to go, episode 107, NFL, week 7. We'll be back with another episode next week, man. Peace.